They told you that masturbation was something to be ashamed of, a dirty little habit you were supposed to outgrow by the time you turned 50. But new research says they were wrong. In fact, for men over 60, the act they told you to stop might be the very thing that keeps your hormones balanced, your prostate healthy, and your mind sharp. This isn't about lust, it's about longevity. Because what medical studies are now revealing is that self-touch, done the right way, could be one of the most powerful tools for preserving your vitality as you age. And the truth is, most men are doing it all wrong, or not at all. Warm scientific transition. Paragraph. Now let's step into the science. Because what researchers have uncovered in recent years might just change the way you think about this. One private habit, according to expert interviews and published findings from places like Harvard and Baylor. Masturbation after 60 isn't just normal, it could be essential. Scientific studies now show clear links between regular self-stimulation and improved sleep, testosterone balance, prostate health, and even brain function. Yet, millions of older men have been misinformed, ashamed, or left in silence. That ends today, because you deserve to know the truth. Problem setup. Paragraph. For decades, men were told to stay quiet about this part of their lives. Touching yourself was seen as shameful, unnecessary, or even harmful, especially after a certain age. And so, silently, millions of men stopped. Some out of guilt, others out of grief. Many simply assumed their bodies had outlived desire. But here's the truth. Stopping this act doesn't stop your biology. Your nervous system still craves connection. Your hormones still respond to arousal. And your prostate still produces fluid that needs to be released. When you ignore these systems, they don't shut down quietly, they start to break down, often without warning. Secret 1. Mindless masturbation can numb your nervous system. One of the most overlooked dangers facing older men today is not that they're touching themselves too much, but that they're doing it without awareness. It becomes a routine. Same hand, same pressure, same images, same outcome. Fast, mechanical, rushed. What feels like harmless habit is, in reality, a form of neurological training. And over time, that training begins to dull your body's ability to feel anything at all. This isn't speculation. Research published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine shows that repetitive, overstimulated masturbation patterns, especially those involving pornography, can reduce sensitivity by conditioning the brain to expect extreme input. It's called stimulus narrowing. The more narrowly focused your arousal becomes, the less your nervous system responds to anything outside that pattern. Men begin to notice that they don't feel as much anymore, that they need more pressure, more visual stimulation, more intensity just to reach the same feeling they used to have with ease. Some report that they can only finish with a certain grip, or a certain fantasy, or not at all, unless everything is just right. And many assume it's just aging. But it's not aging, it's over-conditioning. Think of it like this. If you only ever walked in a straight line for 20 years and one day someone asked you to dance, your body wouldn't know what to do. That's what happens to your nervous system when you only train it to respond to one very narrow type of pleasure. And the danger isn't just physical. When men feel disconnected from their own bodies, they start to feel isolated from others. 2. They stop seeking intimacy because real connection feels too different. They may feel shame, frustration, or even avoid romantic touch altogether because their body doesn't respond the way it used to. It's not just their erection that disappears, it's their confidence. The good news, your body is plastic. That means it can unlearn and relearn. Experts in neuroplasticity have shown that even late in life, the brain can retrain its pleasure pathways. But it takes slowing down. It takes mindful attention. It takes treating masturbation not as an act of relief, but as an act of connection. And that shift alone can begin to reverse the numbness that so many men silently carry. Secret 2. Not ejaculating can increase prostate inflammation. Men assume that as their sex life slows down, their body just adjusts. Fewer erections, less stimulation, and almost no ejaculation. They believe that's just part of aging. But here's what most don't realize. Your prostate doesn't stop working just because you stop being sexually active. In fact, when you stop ejaculating regularly, it can create a quiet storm inside your body, one that often shows up as pressure, discomfort, or worse. Scientific studies have found a clear link between ejaculation frequency and prostate health. A groundbreaking study published in European Urology followed nearly 30,000 men over several years. It found that those who ejaculated 21 times or more per month had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who ejaculated less frequently. Researchers believe this is because regular release helps clear out fluids and inflammatory substances that can otherwise build up and irritate the prostate gland. Here's what happens when you stop. Your prostate continues to produce fluid even if you're not having sex. If that fluid isn't released, it stagnates, creating a kind of biological traffic jam. That's when men start experiencing symptoms like frequent urination, weak flow, pelvic tension, or a dull ache deep in the lower abdomen. It's often brushed off as just getting older, but it's really a form of internal pressure. Sometimes, literally. Aging men who go long periods without ejaculation may also be more prone to a condition called prostatitis, or inflammation of the prostate, and while it's not always serious, it can cause long-term discomfort, interrupted sleep, and in some cases, an increased need for medication or even surgery later in life. One man shared that after his wife passed away, he didn't think self-pleasure was something older men should do, but he began waking up 5 or 6 times a night to pee. His urologist asked one question he wasn't expecting: when was the last time you ejaculated? When he resumed a regular routine, with no pressure or guilt, his symptoms started to ease. This is not about obsession or frequency goals. It's about function. Just like moving your joints keeps your body from stiffening. Regular sexual release, even once or twice a week, can help keep your internal systems working smoothly, and no one should feel ashamed for wanting to feel relief, comfort, or vitality from something their body was designed to do. Secret 3. Shame around self-touch can rewire your brain for millions of men. Shame isn't just a feeling, it's a program running silently in the background. It starts young, often before you even understand your own body. Maybe someone scolded you. Maybe religion told you it was wrong. Maybe no one talked about it at all, and the silence became your answer. Over time, that shame doesn't just affect how you think, it actually alters how your body functions. Neuroscience shows that shame activates the brain's fear and pain centers. According to research published in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, chronic emotional suppression, especially around sexuality, leads to increased cortisol levels, the same stress hormone that spikes during danger. Elevated cortisol weakens the immune system, raises blood pressure, and interferes with your body's ability to rest, recover, and heal. In short, shame doesn't just hurt your feelings, it damages your health. It also impacts your sexual function in subtle but powerful ways. Shame makes your muscles tighten. It makes your breathing shallow. It teaches your nervous system that arousal is dangerous. Over time, this can lead to performance anxiety, reduced sensation, and in many cases, complete withdrawal from touch. Not because your body doesn't want it, but because your brain has associated it with guilt and fear. One 72-year-old man shared that he hadn't touched himself in over a decade. "I just figured that chapter of my life was closed," he said. But beneath his words was a quiet grief, not just about sex, but about the loss of connection to himself. When he started reconnecting through slow, non-judgmental something shifted. His sleep improved, his posture changed. He even started smiling again during conversations. His body wasn't broken, it was waiting. And the science supports this. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone released during touch, isn't just about relationships with others, it also plays a vital role in self-compassion, healing, and emotional regulation. When men touch themselves with gentleness and presence, oxytocin rises, and shame begins to lose its grip. So if you've been carrying this quiet guilt for years, if even hearing the word masturbation makes you want to look away, understand this: the shame was never yours to carry. You inherited it from outdated beliefs, from silence, and now you get to let it go. Not because you're indulging in something wrong, but because you're finally choosing to feel right in your own skin. Secret 4. Sexual inactivity speeds up testosterone decline. It's easy to blame low testosterone on age. After all, men are told it's natural, a slow decline that starts in their 40s and just keeps going. But what most aren't told is that inactivity plays a far bigger role than age alone. In fact, scientific research now shows that testosterone doesn't just drop because you're getting older. It drops because your body stops being reminded that it's needed. Testosterone is a responsive hormone. That means it reacts to your behavior. Exercise boosts it. Confidence boosts it. And yes, sexual engagement, even solo, boosts it. In one study published in Hormones and Behavior, researchers observed that men experienced a noticeable spike in testosterone simply after anticipating sexual activity, not even actual intercourse, just mental engagement with desire. Now imagine what happens when that engagement stops. The mind goes quiet, the body slows down, and the hormonal system gets a message. Shut it down. We don't need this anymore. One man, a 73-year-old retired firefighter, described it like this: I just figured I was slowing down, but I didn't feel like myself. When he finally tested his hormone levels, his testosterone was barely above deficiency. No surprise. He hadn't had any sexual activity, not even solo, in nearly 4 years. But here's the powerful part. When he began reconnecting slowly, without shame, without porn, his levels began to rise. His doctor noted the change. He stood taller. He spoke with more certainty. His appetite for life came back. Not because of a pill, but because his body remembered it was still needed. This is what researchers call androgen feedback. The more your body believes sexual energy is useful, the more it supports it. When that energy is ignored, it's suppressed. Low testosterone doesn't just affect your libido. It impacts your metabolism, your motivation, your memory, even your cardiovascular health. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism linked low testosterone to increased risks of type 2 diabetes, depression, and shorter lifespan in men over 60. So what does this mean for you? It means that rekindling your connection to self-touch, even if you haven't in years, isn't indulgent. It's instructive. You're telling your biology, I still care, I still want to feel, I still want to live fully, and your body. It listens. Secret 5. Erections are a use it or lose it system here. A truth that many men don't find out until it's too late. Your erection isn't just a response to arousal, it's a signal of health. And like any other system in your body, if you stop using it, it starts to break down. The smooth muscle and blood vessels in the penis are finely tuned instruments. They rely on regular blood flow, oxygenation, and nerve signaling to stay functional. But when erections stop happening, whether from inactivity, shame, or simple neglect, those systems don't just pause. They begin to weaken. According to research published in the International Journal of Impotence Research. Prolonged periods without erections can lead to a measurable decrease in tissue elasticity, blood vessel responsiveness, and nitric oxide production, all essential components of a healthy erection. It's not age causing the decline, it's disuse. One man, 69, shared that he hadn't had an erection in over 5 years. Not because he couldn't, but because he thought there was no point. His wife had passed, he wasn't dating, and he assumed that part of his life was over. But when he tried to return to sexual activity later, he found it nearly impossible. His body no longer responded, not from dysfunction, but from dormancy. Think of it like a muscle you never use. If you stop walking for months, your legs weaken. The same principle applies to erectile function. Without regular stimulation, even without climax, the system begins to atrophy. That's why urologists often recommend non-sexual erection training for men in recovery or aging into retirement. Just experiencing regular engorgement, even through gentle non-goal-oriented touch, keeps blood flowing and tissues healthy. It also keeps the neural pathways between the brain and the genitals active, reducing the risk of complete dysfunction. But there's more to it than biology. When men stop experiencing erections regularly, it's not just the body that suffers, it's the mind. Confidence fades. Desire disappears. The sense of being a whole, alive man starts to blur. And that emotional retreat can turn into isolation, anxiety, even depression. So if it's been a while, don't wait for your body to give you a sign. Give your body the sign. Remind it what's possible. Show it that you still care to feel. You're not doing this for pleasure alone. You're doing it to stay alive where it counts. Secret 6. Pornography rewires your brain in dangerous ways. This is a hard one to talk about, not because it's rare, but because it's so common. Many older men who feel emotionally or physically disconnected turn to pornography for a sense of arousal, escape, or just to feel something again. They don't think of it as harmful. After all, they're alone, it's private, and no one is getting hurt. But what science now shows is that modern pornography isn't neutral. It's neurologically disruptive, especially for aging men. Here's why. The kind of porn that exists today is drastically different from what you may have encountered in your youth. It's faster, louder, more extreme, and designed to hijack your brain's dopamine system, according to a study published in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience. Repeated exposure to high-intensity sexual media desensitizes the reward centers of the brain, meaning over time, your brain requires more stimulation. To get the same effect, that's not just about taste. It's about biology. Men who consume porn frequently especially when paired with rushed masturbation, often experience what's known as porn-induced erectile dysfunction. They can get aroused by digital images but struggle to feel anything. During real-life connection or even solo touch without the screen, their body responds only to the artificial, not the actual dot. One man in his early 70s shared that he could only finish if he used the same exact clip every time. Without it, nothing worked. His sensitivity had narrowed to one tiny sliver of arousal, and everything else, including real touch, felt foreign. This doesn't just affect your sexual response, it affects your mental health. Excessive porn use has been linked to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and social withdrawal in men over 60. That's because it doesn't just overstimulate, it replaces emotional connection with mechanical satisfaction, which fades quickly and leaves nothing nourishing behind. But here's the encouraging part. Your brain is plastic. That means it can change. Many men choose to take a 30-day break from all erotic media. Others scale back gradually. And as they do, something almost magical happens. Their sensitivity returns. Their imagination begins to awaken. Their body starts responding to real touch, not pixels. This isn't about morality. It's about reclaiming your own nervous system. If porn has become your only window into pleasure, it may be time to close it and open a door to something far more powerful. Your actual capacity to feel. Secret 7. Isolation is the most dangerous mistake of all the quiet risks men face after 60. Low testosterone, prostate inflammation, erectile dysfunction. There's one that cuts deeper than any of them. Isolation. Not just living alone, but being untouched, unseen, forgotten. This kind of loneliness doesn't always look sad. Sometimes it looks like routine. Silence, a shrug. A man who stopped expecting anything more. One study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that social isolation increases the risk of early death in older adults by as much as 26%. And physical touch, even non-sexual, is one of the most protective factors we have. It boosts oxytocin. It lowers cortisol. It improves immune function. It helps regulate mood. Simply put, touch keeps us alive. But here's the painful truth. Many older men go years without being touched at all. No hug, no hand on the back, not even their own. Because somewhere along the line, they were taught that this kind of connection had an expiration date. That after 60 or 70, it was something to be left behind. One man, 76, described his life this way. I'm not depressed, I'm just done. But beneath those words was a body starving for connection. When he was gently encouraged to begin a nightly routine of mindful self-touch, not to climax, but to feel something shifted, he began sleeping through the night. He started calling old friends. He even joined a local art class. His world, once so small, began to open again. Not because someone else came into his life, but because he came back into his own. This is what researchers call touch starvation. When the skin no longer receives regular input, the brain begins to shut down the sensory and emotional systems that process connection. You stop feeling the need for intimacy. Then you stop imagining it. Then you stop believing it's even possible. And over time, you don't just stop being touched, you stop feeling alive. But the opposite is also true. Just a few minutes of gentle, present, intentional contact, even if it's just your own hands on your chest, your face, or your heart, can begin to light that system back up. The body responds to kindness, and the older it gets, the more deeply it listens. This isn't about sex, it's about survival. You're still here, you still matter. And the moment you are the protocol. How to reconnect in just 10 minutes. You don't need pills or complicated programs to start healing. What you need is a simple, private ritual. Experts call it mindful self-touch. I call it the golden protocol. 10 minutes a day to remind your body it still matters. Find a quiet moment. No phone, no pressure, just you. Lie down or sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Let your hands gently explore your body, your arms, chest, thighs. Not to finish, not to perform, but to feel. Touch your skin like it belongs to someone you care about, because it does. Some men feel silly at first. Others feel nothing. That's okay. Keep going. In a few days, your nervous system will start to soften, your sleep may deepen, your energy may rise. This isn't about sex, it's about presence, about returning home to yourself. One breath, one moment, one gentle touch at a time. Remember that the healing begins. Final reflection. You're not broken, you're ready if you've made it this far. Take a breath, not just because you listened, but because you're still open, still willing to feel. That matters more than you know. You were told this part of your life should fade. That desire, pleasure, and connection were things of the past. But that was never the truth. The truth is, every system in your body, from your heart, to your hormones, to your nervous system, is still waiting for your attention. You're not broken. You're not done. You haven't missed your chance. The shame wasn't yours to begin with, and the silence doesn't have to be your ending. Starting today, with just 10 quiet minutes, you can begin to return, not to the man you used to be, but to the man you still are. This isn't about looking back. It's about coming back to your body, to your breath, to your life. And you don't need anyone's permission to begin. You already have it.